The Japanese urban legend of Hachishakusama. Have you ever heard a sound so simple that it becomes impossible to forget? In one of Japan's most unsettling modern urban legends, the sound is not a scream, a whisper, or footsteps behind you. It is just a voice repeating po, 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 softly, almost playfully, somewhere outside. The legend is usually known as Hachishakusama, meaning the 8-shaku lady, or roughly the 8-foot-tall woman. She is said to appear in quiet, rural places, near old family homes, fields, hedges, and country roads. At first, she does not always look like a monster. Sometimes she looks like a pale woman in a white dress. Sometimes she wears a wide-brimmed hat. Sometimes you only see the top of her head moving above a fence that should be far too tall for any normal person. Then you hear that sound again. Po, po, po. And according to the story, once she notices you, the real danger has already begun. The best-known version of the legend spread online through Japanese message boards, especially the kind of late-night horror threads where people shared stories that felt like they should not be jokes. In the story, a young man visits his grandparents in the countryside during school break. The place feels safe, nostalgic, ordinary. He sits outside, relaxing in the sun, when he hears a strange voice from beyond the garden. When he looks toward the hedge, he sees a white hat drifting above it. At first, his brain tries to make the image normal. Maybe it is a very tall woman. Maybe someone is standing on something. Maybe the angle is strange. But then he sees more. A pale face, a white dress, and a height that makes no sense. The hedge is already taller than an adult, yet this woman rises above it easily. She sways out of view, and the voice stops. That is the first rule of this kind of fear. The mind always tries to explain the impossible before it admits that something is wrong. When the young man tells his grandparents what he saw, the mood changes instantly. At first, they listen casually, the way family members listen to a strange little story. But when he mentions the height, the white hat, and especially the sound, po, 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 they freeze. That reaction is what makes the legend so effective. The scary part is not only the woman outside, it is the fact that the older people know exactly what she is. His grandfather starts asking sharp questions. Where did you see her? When did you hear her? How tall was she? Did she look at you? Then he leaves to make urgent phone calls. His grandmother becomes visibly shaken. Suddenly, the countryside is not peaceful anymore. It is a place with rules the visitor never learned. In many versions, Hachishakusama is not just a wandering ghost. She is something local people have tried to seal away, something held back by old protective markers, prayers, and warnings that younger generations barely understand. According to the legend, Hachishakusama targets young people, especially children and teenagers. She does not always attack immediately. Instead, she marks a victim, attaches herself to them, and tries to lure them away. That is where the story becomes more curious than a simple ghost encounter. She can imitate voices. She may sound like a parent, a grandparent, or someone familiar calling from outside the door. She may appear in a place where she should not be able to stand. She may wait at the edge of vision, tall enough to be seen over walls, fences, or windows. The repeated po, po, po is almost childlike, but that is what makes it wrong. It does not sound like rage. It sounds like someone pretending to be harmless. The legend suggests that fear is not always loud. Sometimes it is patient. Sometimes it learns the voices you trust. Sometimes it waits for you to open the door yourself. To protect the young man, the adults prepare a sealed room for the night. The windows are covered with newspaper and protective paper charms. Salt is placed in the corners. A small altar or statue is set up for prayer. He is given a talisman and told one command above all others. Do not leave the room until morning, no matter what you hear. Not if someone knocks, not if a familiar voice calls, not even if his grandparents ask him to open the door. That instruction turns the whole story into a test of trust. If you hear your family outside, how long can you believe it is not really them? As night falls, the house becomes quiet. And then the voice returns. Po, po, po. Something taps at the window. The room was chosen because it should be safe, but the sound is close enough to make safety feel thin. The boy prays, grips the talisman, and waits for morning, while the thing outside tries to become someone he will answer. Morning does not completely end the danger. In the legend, escape has to be carefully arranged. The family and local helpers surround the young man in a vehicle, placing him between relatives, as if blood connection itself can confuse the spirit. He is told to keep his eyes closed and look down. The car moves slowly away from the village. Then the voice appears again. Paw, paw, paw. This time it is outside the moving car. The woman is walking beside them, keeping pace with impossible long steps. Her white dress passes the window. Her head is too high to see at first, which somehow makes her worse, because it means she is still taller than the car. Then she begins to bend down, as if trying to peer inside. Someone shouts not to look. The talisman darkens in his hand. Prayers grow louder. The glass taps. The scene works because it mixes ritual with road trip realism. A van, a family, a slow country road, and something tall enough to follow without running. One reason the Poe legend lingers is that it feels modern and old at the same time. Hachishakusama is not a classical monster from an ancient scroll, at least not in the way many famous yokai are. She is an internet-era urban legend, but she borrows older anxieties. Rural boundaries, broken seals, protective statues, family bloodlines, children being taken, and the danger of answering the wrong voice. Some versions say she was once contained by Jizo statues, the guardian figures often associated with children and travelers, until one was damaged and the seal failed. Whether you treat that as folklore, fiction, or creepypasta, it gives the story a powerful shape. The monster is not random. It belongs to a place. The adults remember it. The land remembers it. And the victim survives only by respecting rules that sound ridiculous until the first knock comes at the window. So what is Poe really about? Maybe it is about the fear of being chosen by something you do not understand? Maybe it is about childhood, when adults know rules they cannot fully explain. Maybe it is about the countryside as a place that looks peaceful while hiding older stories beneath the fields. Or maybe it is simply one of the most effective images in modern Japanese horror. A woman too tall to be real, dressed in white, making a soft nonsense sound as she waits outside. The legend usually ends with a warning. Even after escape, the victim is told never to return to the place where he first saw her, because she may still be waiting there. And that is the part that stays with you. Not the chase, not the ritual, not even the tapping on the glass. It is the idea that somewhere, beyond a hedge or down a quiet road, a pale hat might rise above the fence, and a voice might begin again. Po, po.